removing barriers such as inefficient processes, hierarchies, definitely provides the freedom necessary to work across silos and generate real impact. So after you've started making some substantial changes, now it's time to start encouraging others to make change as well. And your biggest challenges are probably or the biggest blockers that might stand in your way are psychological or philosophical ones. So I know you guys remember at the beginning of the presentation when we talked about building your guiding coalition and creating that group of people that is really going to lead the change through. This is the time when we're start talking about barriers, and sometimes your barriers are those personalities that are just really resistant to change. And it might be that estimator who's been doing things his way on his Excel spreadsheet for the past 25 years, more like 35 years, and he's not going to change. But if you make that guy part of your guiding coalition and you start addressing those things early in the change process, like what is he really concerned about? Why doesn't he think this is going to work? And you start addressing those things head on, really dive into that. It can really help you really convince others within your organization, because you take that one naysayer and you turn them into one of your advocates, and it really can accelerate the change that you're trying to make in your organization. So don't be fearful of those people, because they do exist. I know everybody has had to work with them. And even I know that sometimes I can be even the most resistant to change, especially the video with Zoom. That was something that took a little bit of getting used to. I wasn't on board with that. I've been working remotely for years, and I like not having to worry about that. But once I got used to it, now I'm on board. I think it's a great way to stay connected to people. So I would definitely say that when you are at step 5 and you're starting to, roll out changes, those people are starting to chirp up a little bit that, they're not exactly excited about this. Really start to try to win them over, get them involved in the change, really spend some time helping sell why this is a good thing for your organization or a good thing for your team.
Step 6 is about short-term wins. A win is anything that helps you move forward with your goal. Some wins are big, but some are small. However, all wins are motivators. Wins are the molecules of results. Collect them early and often. Make sure to communicate them. We as marketers put executive summaries together all the time for proposals. Do this for your change initiatives. Make sure that you communicate out the actions that you're taking, the lessons learned, the process has improved, new behaviors being demonstrated. Highly successful teams initially capture and share wins as a core component of their daily work. Tracking wins also creates a culture where people are excited to show up, they're excited to communicate their successes, and they celebrate the power of their collective impact. Now, the characteristics of an effective win. They relate back to the big picture. They're meaningful to others. They're clear and defined, visible and tangible, and that the wins have the most impact when they scale across the organization. Managers often complain about being forced to produce short-term wins. And according to Dr. Kotter, he has found that pressure can be a useful element in the change effort. When it becomes clear to people that major change will take a long time, urgency tends to drop off. Commitments to produce short-term results help keep the urgency level up and force detail or analytical thinking that can clarify or revise visions. Now, here are some examples. Thinking about automation. Automation is a small thing that can make a big impact. A quick win that I experienced was, again, at a previous firm, creating those workflows that let everybody in a specific geography know that the proposal had been submitted or an opportunity was in that region, so that no one submitted the same proposal to the same client from different offices. Another example is that I was in a conversation about our workflow notifications when we win a pursuit. And the IT guy was in the room working on equipment and said, "Wait, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, our CRM Whenever we close an opportunity and it's won, notifies accounting. And he said, oh, I would really love to get that notification because I get so frustrated when project managers show up in my office and are mad that their job site trailers are not set up. I was like, oh, well, I didn't even think about including you on that win. Sure, I can just add you. That was a simple ad of just adding his email to that notification, and it was a huge win. So communicating that and celebrating that. And implementing change, as we all know, is a process. It is not for the faint of heart. So really looking for those quick wins will continue that momentum. The key with step 6 is that everybody is tuned in to the WIIFM. What's in it for me? Find the features that resonate with certain employees, departments, groups of people, and work on those. Kotter says that most people won't go on the long march unless they see compelling evidence within 14 to 24 months that the journey is producing results.
All right, so now we're getting some short-term wins, and now it's time to not let our foot off the gas pedal. So we need to press harder and use those wins as momentum to fuel further change. All right. So here are some ways that we can continue to build acceleration. So again, making sure that that guiding coalition has some of the key management staff that you need on board, because that's going to continue to make sure that the changes that you're making are going to stick. So also continue to look for ways to innovate and improve the process. And a good way to do that is to play the what if game. So what if I didn't have to do all, if you're talking about a CRM, what if I didn't have to do all this data entry? What if there was a way for me to have this information maybe integrated into my day-to-day? Maybe there's maybe there's a different way that we can go about this. So as you're creating those short-term wins, and as you're accelerating this change and you're moving forward, keep looking for ways to innovate and to improve the process. And also, in terms of technology, if you're implementing a technology change, it's really impossible to just set it and forget it. You have to keep going, and you have to make sure that you're monitoring the progress and getting reporting. And something really key and not letting up is making sure that you're documenting and that you're reporting on the changes that are moving forward, and the changes that you keep making, and make sure that you're really documenting that. And also, something that's really important as you're rolling out change is to make sure that you keep the milestones and the time frame that you're trying to achieve these goals. Make sure that you shorten it just a little bit. I would say initially when you roll out a change, quarterly is not a good way to determine if you're making progress. I think at first you even have to set smaller goals, like maybe monthly goals. And then in some cases, it might even be weekly at the very beginning, making sure that people are creating records in the system. That might be a weekly report that you're doing to just make sure that people are getting in the system, using it, really figuring out a way to track those behaviors and make sure that you're rewarding those positive behaviors. And speaking of positive behaviors, let's talk about some things that you can do. So first of all, if you're rolling out a big change, making sure that you have a regular meeting cadence is really important. So as we're working remotely, I've seen an increase, especially of more, and as we're still trying to reach our goals, we're having daily stand-ups, which is just a short 15-minute meeting talking about, what you're working on and what's blocking you. And when you're rolling out a change, keeping that meeting cadence really tight and making sure that you're meeting on a more regular basis is really important to make sure that you keep that change initiative and you keep moving forward. Now also, let's talk a little bit more about positive reinforcement. So at CoCentral, some of you might have heard me talk about this before. We have this incentive program. It's called Bonusly. It's actually it's a nice little website you can go to. You can log in. Each of our employees has $25 that we can dole out as we see fit, whether you're a manager or a senior manager or just an entry-level position. Everybody has the same $25. So how you dole those out is definitely interesting. And you have to, sometimes when there's a lot of good things happening, you have to budget accordingly. But you guys can definitely allocate different amounts for your organization. But the key thing is that when you get these bucks, they're promoted internally. Like you get emails that, hey, so-and-so just gave you, $5 for helping them out on this, or, it's just a great way to incentivize people to make change at your organization. And what's even better is you can trade the bucks in for real stuff. So let's say that you have $50, you can turn it into a gift card. So it's a really great way to build some momentum around any kind of change that you're trying to make. Another thing that I want to bring up is small things like cards. Like especially now, I don't think that a handwritten note is something that people will overlook, or I think people still enjoy those little tokens of appreciation. And I will be honest with you, I don't have the best handwriting. And so I use a service called Postable to help me send cards. Basically, I pick the card out. They have some fonts that look like really nice handwriting, and you can write a handwritten note, and then they'll go ahead and mail it for you. And the person on the receiving end gets a nice handwritten card that they can put on their desk. And it's a really great service. I really enjoy it. And I think that people really enjoy, especially right now, like receiving a little bit of love in the mail. So I definitely like sending those handwritten notes, and it's just definitely a great way to keep the momentum going and celebrate those small wins, and not letting your foot off the gas in making a change.
What's also great about that is you don't always have to like dig through and find stamps. They just stamp it for you.
It does the stamp for you.
The little things in life, right?
Exactly.
So step 8 is about bringing it all together. Cultural change comes once you are deep into a transformation. It's not at the beginning. Culture changes after you have successfully altered people's actions, connecting the dots between new behaviors and better performance. To ensure that new culture is sustained, it is important to define and communicate the connections between those new behaviors and the organization's success. You've got to honor the achievements, whether that's increased speed, increased agility, innovations, increased revenue or profit, increased efficiency or effectiveness. Acknowledge the hard work and contributions and efforts made. Report any and all results collected along the way. Celebrate the new systems or processes or change that the company has worked so hard to create. I know before COVID, we had ice cream parties. Post COVID, and my team has always been remote or virtual for the last 4 years, and we celebrate with dance parties on Zoom. We also celebrate with parties. We just celebrated 4 years, so I sent everybody a care package that had champagne and pearl necklaces. We're all a girl team right now. Kazoos, hats, their favorite snacks, and we all opened our boxes together on a Zoom call, popped the champagne, and toasted. So finding those innovative ways to celebrate the success that you've had. And finally, you want to thank and reward the success of that dream team that you worked so hard to put together. Our hope is that these 8 steps have shown you that change management is not only vital, but when you break it down, it is doable and achievable. So in review, we've got 8 steps. Create urgency, form that dream team, create a vision and tie strategies to that vision, communicate, 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 empower others to act, capitalize on those short-term wins, keep your foot on the accelerator, and finally, celebrate the new culture that you have worked so hard to create.